Hi everyone, for this IQ's Take podcast, we welcome Jason Ko and Aaina Pahwa, Emory alumni and co-founders of OnBoard Student Services, a startup that helps address the unique challenges that international students face when they come to the US. OnBoard Student Services provides international students with a centralized, comprehensive platform that can help reduce barriers they may face in their schooling and professional journey. So we are so excited that you could take some time out of your busy schedules to share your experiences and insight from your onboard journey with students and budding entrepreneurs. So right off the bat, can you first introduce yourselves and share a bit about your background and interests?
And do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Aaina Pahwa, and I graduated from the Goizueta Business School at Emory in 2019. I majored in marketing and consulting and minored in business and society, and I'm originally from India. I grew up in 7 different countries throughout my life, so I feel like I'm the beacon of international student, and I'm deeply interested in the immigration space.
And my name's Jason Kuo. I'm actually Taiwanese American. My parents were first generation immigrants here to this country about 30 years ago. I went to Emory. I did my MBA at Emory, graduated in 2019. I did my undergrad at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. Before I came to Atlanta, I've been in a previous career. I've been a consultant, I've been a product manager. I've been an investment banker, and obviously now really excited to introduce you guys to Onboard Student Services and really thank you guys, thank you EEVM for giving us this opportunity to talk about ourselves.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Once again, we are so excited to have you on. And while I hope to delve a little deeper into your professional insights later, I would love to hear about your overall experience with Emory, your history with entrepreneurship, and of course, the mission and journey of Onboard Student Services. So I think a great first question would be, could you give an overview of Onboard Student Services and the help Onboard is providing for international students?
Sure. So Onboard is a startup that's built by international students for the international student community in the US. We really serve as a digital personal student advisor to help students complete administrative tasks faster or give them real time insights into career advancement through our international student alumni network. We really envision ourselves as onboarding a student into a whole new country altogether, let alone just their university. And I'm not sure how aware you guys are of what OPT is, but every international student who comes to study in the US is on an F1 visa and has the legal right to work in the US after they graduate for about 12 months. This 12-month work authorization period on this visa is called OPT, or optional practical training. And you have to avail this work authorization by sending in an OPT application to USCIS, which is a US government affiliated agency. Now, there's 1,000 things that are wrong with this process, both from an administrative and a manual perspective, some of them being international student offices are heavily resource constrained. So oftentimes they're sending their students to reach 30 or 40 page long instruction manuals or sending them to really long seminar sessions. Second, you also have to fill out a 7 page long legal government form. Things like checking the wrong box, misspelling your name, or even having a typo or signing in the wrong ink color could have the government rejecting your application. In that case, you're losing this $410 fee, but more so, you can lose the legal right to actually work in the country and are forced to go back to your home country. This process is also just super outdated. For example, you have to physically go to a bank and get a money order, and most of these students aren't aware of what a money order really is today. What we're doing with Onboard is with our EAD Plus service, we're automating this process for international students applying for their OPT, and we take care of the entire application for the student. We want to make sure it's accurately completed, thoroughly reviewed, and sent out to USCIS. Now, that's only to deal with the work authorization piece of the student's journey. We're currently working on building a life cycle solution for incoming freshmen and lower classmen to guide them from the day they land in the US to the day they sign their first job offer and beyond. That could be helping them set up a reasonably priced health insurance plan, a cell phone plan, the right bank account, or helping them build strong credit scores and getting an SSN. Kind of like I said earlier, we really plan to become this concierge platform for international students and be a part of their entire student life cycle from high school to college, working their full time jobs, and even in the boardrooms.
Yes, thank you so much. And I think it's so evident from your description and my doing of research behind the scenes of sort of what Onboard's mission was through your websites and through your social medias that Onboard really is unique and distinct in how interactive it is with its students and how you guys are really helping students from a close level. So I was wondering what inspired the creation of Onboard? How did you guys know there were these gaps that international students face in their academic and professional journeys?
Yeah, so Onboard comes from very, very personal experiences of our founding team being comprised of international students who were in the United States navigating these unfamiliar social and legal landscapes. So, personally, I mentioned earlier, I grew up in 7 different countries, which were predominantly in Asia and Europe. And when I moved to the US, I identified this huge information gap between students and their surroundings. Throughout my 4 years at university, I found out that there was really no one place for international students to gain that support for really planting their roots. I think it really stems from going through all these different processes in a peer-to-peer network and really writing them down and saying, why are we dealing with so many things and how can they be addressed?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that's a really great perspective, seeing it that you said earlier by international students for international students. And I think it's really comforting to know as a student that there are people out there, hoping to create that change. So I noticed that colleges do have services for students or international students, but Onboard is clearly very unique in the way you guys are actually helping these international students. So how does Onboard distinguish itself from other student services online or on campus?
Yeah, so kind of going back through all the legal processes or just processes in general that I went through myself, I don't think I could recall having that one resource that could provide me with credible and reliable information in one place. We do have international student offices across different colleges, but oftentimes are facing backlogs and don't really communicate with each other. So you find that you're getting different answers from people who may be at a different university. These vague answers sometimes result in telling you to speak with an immigration attorney, which is not always an affordable option for students. So, what Onboard really does differently is we break through that clutter and create a one stop shop for international students to really identify with and engage with resources to help them build that life.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think looking at Onboard's mission and journey, I was really interested in, your comments or any thoughts that you had on this topic. So in today's globalized economy, academic and social interaction with students all around the world can provide students with real educational and career benefits, but it also plays a wonderful role in innovation and the creative thinking process. So how do you think Onboard will help promote this innovation and ideation all around the world for students?
Yeah, so international students in the US right now, they currently access resources through groups that they identify with. For example, we've noticed that Chinese students communicate very heavily through WeChat, an app that I've never seen or never been able to access the interface of, and Korean students can communicate through this app called Kakao. Other cultures similarly have pages or platforms where they share information that could very much be useful to someone else. So, Onboard is creating an opportunity for students, regardless of their ethnic background or things that they're comfortable with, to engage in social interaction, to really ideate and share strategies and support each other just on the common denominator of their visa status. So, Onboard's really hoping that this will create a path for students to strategize cross cultural communication. But how can somebody who's not on WeChat share that information? Or how can somebody who doesn't have a Chinese phone number access some of that information that has really helped a different student? So I think that's really what we're trying to break through in that spectrum.
Right, and I think that's so great. And I think many students listening to this podcast, as well as international students themselves that would love to be involved with Onboard and the services you provide. How can students stay more involved with Onboard's mission and journey or contact Onboard Student Services for helping their journeys right now?
Sure. So for international students who are obviously graduating this spring, we do have our EAD Plus service so they can really focus on the things that matter, be it finding a job, keeping up with academics, or spending time with people who they may be parting ways with after graduation. But other than that, we currently have a very active social media presence on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and are also launching a YouTube series that's called Getting the Job International Student Edition, where we speak with international students who have accepted offers and they really walk you through what their process was. And I think that applies not just to international students, but to anyone who's looking to recruit. It's a great source of advice. Additional to our social pages, we also have an onboard bulletin. Through our bulletin, we send out up-to-date information on both the government landscape and onboard updates, product updates, recruitment tips, and spotlighting different students from universities across the US. So I think any of those ways would be great to engage with us. And I'm sure that we'll share the links through EEVM so anyone listening can interact with those social profiles and get in touch with them through, whichever medium that they're most comfortable with.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing about your onboard journey. I think you guys really shared such a valuable look into your journey and your mission and what Onboard Student Services really is delivering for these international students. And I think this work done is so important. And I wanted to delve a little bit deeper into your entrepreneurial journeys and your journeys through entrepreneurship, startups, business. And as you know, I know you guys are both recent graduates. So just as a basic question, what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
Yeah. So entrepreneurship can embody so many different things, right? Everything from just finding the right problem, the right team, bringing potential solutions to life. But fundamentally, to me, and probably more on a philosophical level, I think of entrepreneurship as really a vehicle for creating change. Whether that's in your communities, in your workplaces, in social constructs, and really like entrepreneurs are simply the folks that, to me, they have a vision. They believe that change is necessary or inevitable, and just work every day to make that vision a reality.
Thank you so much. And I think that's such an interesting viewpoint and really important. I think a lot of entrepreneurship done nowadays is really focused on your social impacts, creating that change. So I think that's such an interesting and very important outlook. And when did you guys first get involved in entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and even in my professional career, I've really tried to acquire skills that I thought would one day serve me well as an entrepreneur. And so I mentioned previously, I've worked as both a consultant and a product manager, and really in both cases, if you think about it, I made a career out of listening to people's problems and helping them build solutions to fix those problems. Inherently, I love building things. I love figuring out how things work, how to make them work better. And, I'm sure that's just one of the traits that a lot of entrepreneurs share.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I noticed that you guys have experiences in large companies such as Deloitte or Yelp or working as a consultant. What are some prominent differences that you saw working in those large companies to now the structure of your own startup in business?
Yeah. So obviously can't speak for all large companies, and every large company is different, but I think that some of the biggest things that play a role in working at a startup is just that lack of direction, right? I mean, you really spend a lot of time setting your own direction and setting your own goals and working every day to help make your vision a reality. And that's the biggest difference between a startup and working at a large company. Now, I certainly wouldn't be someone that would recommend to graduates, hey, no, don't go work for a large company. I think it's something that everybody should do. I think that diversity of experience is really important, and knowing what to do is just as important as knowing what not to do. And inevitably, if you go work for a large company, you're going to get a lot more of those experiences faster, and be able to take them with you should you decide to be an entrepreneur one day. The truth of the matter is that not everyone is going to be a Mark Zuckerberg who drops out of college to build a nice Facebook. In fact, like I mentioned before, I think most entrepreneurs are people that have really diverse experiences and have found something they want to change and are working to build that change.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's some really great points, especially dealing with that diversity of experience and with the fact that there's so many challenges involved in the entrepreneurial process and in creating your own startup. So it's definitely not an easy one. So, what are some habits of yours or skills that you had that you feel is necessary to succeed in entrepreneurship or your own ventures?
Yeah. So I think the two that I really think about a lot are, number one is you have to be unrelentingly optimistic. And you'll have days where you question yourself, where other people will question you. And fundamentally, like you just have to believe that things are going to work out. And I always kind of think about there's this really famous Henry Ford quote, and I'm sure many people have heard it, but it kind of goes, whether you can or you can't, you're right. And what that fundamentally means is that, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will either. And if no one else believes in you, you'll never get anything off the ground. So I think unrelenting optimism in many different ways is key to always kind of hold near and dear to your heart. Number two, I think having that inherent sense of curiosity. You have to have the patience to really want to learn how things work, how people use certain things today, how they might use things in the future. And if you have enough curiosity, empathy, patience, and really dig into those things, you'll inevitably start thinking about how to make them work better, and kind of going back to what we discussed earlier, how to bring about change, whether that's big or small.
Thank you so much. And I think one thing I've heard a lot is that every entrepreneurial process and journey is very different. So, how has the entrepreneurial process played a role in your specific business OnBoard? And have you
Mhm.
noticed anything unique or different?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say we spent a lot of time doing our homework in the very beginning. And so we made sure to talk to as many people as possible and really tried to dig in on questions like, is this a real problem? And if it is, how painful of a problem is it? And trying to understand what the status quo is today. Before we even talked about what a potential solution might look like, we kind of developed this vision for what we really wanted to change in the international student experience. And I think that's really what's helped keep us focused, and doing the work that doing that work has helped us understand our competitive landscape and also kind of our unique value proposition and where we can fit into to the student experience. Um, the result of that, I think, is that we've gotten just tremendous feedback. Like I can't count the number of times we have a conversation with someone and they just say like, this is amazing, I totally get it, this is something that we definitely need. And I think feedback like that doesn't come easily, and it's only because we spend so much time really digging into the problem early on.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And I think that background research is so important as you guys are really creating such an impact on these international students' lives. And as people from such diverse backgrounds, whether it's professionally or just in their lives, how do you feel that this generation of students and employees can really work to create conversations about the things considered taboo or unchangeable to really catalyze those changes and really make impacts like the ones that you're making in the international student sphere?
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, I guess it's kind of twofold. Number one, I would always recommend to new students, new graduates, to really just get out of your bubble and try to acquire as many diverse experiences as you can. That will make you not just a better, like more empathetic person, but it will really help expose you to a different perspective and ways of thinking. And oftentimes, that's the kind of perspective that you and someone that might be a future manager or a leader is going to need in order to really bring about change later on. Today, I think, having been in banking, having been in consulting, change is happening, although, maybe not at quite the pace that we all want it to happen. But even to give you an example, I think feedback loops and employee engagement have come such a long way in the past 10 years. Technology has really helped make that better. And it's a conversation that you hear a lot of companies talk about today, and in terms of measuring their employee engagement, measuring their retention, and really trying to figure out how can we be the best place to work for a company, for employees. And in fact, most recently, before I went to business school, one of the biggest goals of the company that I used to work for was literally to be the best place to work. And it was, to be the best place to work, rated by a certain agency in the Atlanta area, and that's the kind of standard that I think more companies should set. Obviously, in larger companies, more traditional old school companies where you have a lot of structure, it's happening, but slowly. And I think the best way, I think, for the younger generation to really bring about that change faster is to really bring as many of their diverse experiences as they can to the table, because in 10 years' time, they will be the managers, they will be the partners. And it'll only be if they have those experiences today, will they be able to encourage people below them eventually to do the same things.
Right. Thank you so much. And I think that was a really interesting take. I think when we're going into the job force, it is so important that we're taking those diversities of experience and our own unique, inputs and what we want to create change in those corporate sphere. So I think that was a really great point. And a huge amount of our audience that would watch IQ's Take are students right now, or budding entrepreneurs, student entrepreneurs. So what advice would you give to these students or fellow graduates on how to navigate their own entrepreneurial journeys or just their academic journeys overall?
Yeah, I kind of go back to that point I made about just trying to get as many experiences as you can. So even if you decided, hey, you want to be a software engineer, right? In my experience working with many different software engineering teams, the best software engineers aren't just the ones that can write code and ship code the fastest. They're the ones that really understand why the problems that they're solving and why they're important. And ultimately that helps them be better software engineers and helps them advance faster. And I say that because it's not about just doing really well in a specific course or learning a specific subject really well. It's about trying to gather as many experiences as you can and bring those to the table when you become a professional. So learn something outside of what you're currently focused in. Do a different job that maybe you hadn't considered before. Be open to those kinds of things and really take your time to learn from people that have been in those places, whether it's alumni that maybe work in different fields. Have those conversations as a student because you can right now and you should in order to make the best decision for yourself. And ultimately, I think that'll help serve your career search better. It'll help you make better, more informed decisions on where you end up working. And it'll just kind of instill that discipline in you to always kind of be out there, look for different perspectives, really embrace diversity. And ultimately, when you kind of make that, when you want to make that transition and start a venture of your own, a lot of that same kind of discipline applies, right? Being empathetic, listening to people, finding problems, like all of that starts with just being open to understanding someone else's perspective and trying things a different way.
Right, thank you so much. And I really like that aspect. I think when students hear what can it take for me to be successful in this journey, a lot of things we hear are, hard work or certain things, like especially now with the grind culture that's especially coming up in like corporate nature. I think getting that diversity of experiences and really emphasizing the fact that you need those perspectives to succeed and really getting that wide range of experiences, especially the ones necessary to create change and to create an impact. So thank you so much. And it has been such a pleasure talking to you both. And do you have any last thoughts or words that you would like to share with the viewers or any additional information about OnBoard?
Uh, no, I think Ina covered most of the salient points for OnBoard. I mean, obviously, we're new and we're really excited to kind of play in this space and to bring about change for international students. We feel like they're been really underserved, and despite everything that's happened in our political climate over the last 4 years, we don't think that there's any stopping globalization. And the U.S. will still be the best kind of academic place for students all over the world who want to come and study and get a great education. And we're excited about really transforming that experience for them.
Yeah, I think I would just add to grow and to stay relevant with the international student experience. And something that we've learned is the more people you talk to and the more you engage with your customers, you're really able to build out the best product. So I think I would leave it with, if there are any international students out there, please get in touch, please reach out, engage with us on social. We'd love to hear from you. And we want to really be a part of that journey and make sure that we're addressing all those pain points that appear throughout.
Thank you so much for tuning in once again to this episode of IQ's Take, and thank you so much to our guests, Ina and Jason, who have shared some wonderful insights and a special look into OnBoard Student Services. We wish you the very best in all of your amazing pursuits and cannot wait to work with you more. And for some students, we provided a 20% off discount code for OnBoard Student Services, and we've offered a 10% off code for unlimited numbers of students with EVM20 and EVM10, which we will put in the description as well. So make sure to keep an eye out for future podcasts and articles. See you next time. And thank you so much, Ina and Jason, once again.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, May. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.